see Donald Trump, said, hey, he would serve the vast. We do have that audio. And to prove I'm not making it up, let's play it, and then I'll give you my take. Let's do clip 4 here of Donald Trump.
A lot of people have been calling you that speaker. So all I can say is we'll do whatever is best for the country and for the Republican Party. We have people. We have some great people. Would you take the job? A lot of people have asked me about it. I'm focused. We're leading. I don't know you. I'm sure you don't read too much papers. But we're leading by like 50 points for president. My focus is totally on that. If I can help them during the process, I would do it. But we have some great people in the Republican Party that can do a great job as Speaker.
Say that now. That's a good answer from the.
It's kind of a both.
If you didn't hear that clearly, he said, "If I can help them in the meantime while I'm running for president, I will."
Yeah.
And that's my answer to your question. Donald Trump is not going to settle for House Speaker. Donald Trump wants to be president again. He likes what he did. He wants to. I've heard him speak. We've all heard the rallies, and we've played the clips in the show. I've been in the same room with him during some of his speeches. So he wants to be president again. And I think a lot of people out there, who, if you believe the polls, want him to be president again, too. I don't think he's going to settle for Speaker and let somebody he refers to as Ron DeSanctimonious become the leader.
Right.
I will say he might not be able to pass up the chance to put Speaker of the House on his resume for a year.
Right.
While he's running?
While I was running.
Well, I listen, I understand. I thought that was a good answer. I had not heard the audio. I had just read statements. Obviously, he's being caught, I think, after coming out of the courtroom.
Before going in.
Before going in, okay. So if you are, and President Trump is the leader of the Republican Party at this point, he's the standard bearer, you do have to take a team first mentality when it comes to something like the Speaker of the House. I just hope that nobody nominates him. And listen, he threw his support behind McCarthy.
He did.
Before the vote.
He said McCarthy has said nice things about me. He had very nice remarks about Kevin McCarthy.
So he obviously wants the process not to be complicated by I don't want to be disrespectful to Matt Gaetz or whoever would toss the name of Donald Trump into the ring. But to me, that is gimmicky. And they need to focus on, as the former president said, one of the people they already have in the House who is familiar with the rules and the process of the House of Representatives. I wouldn't take the job. What do I know about it? All right. So they need somebody who's been doing that.
If Donald Trump were to become the House Speaker, he might become the first president and House Speaker to be impeached. So that would be another check mark for his resume. Talking about the process. I'm going to share the link to Jenna's podcast here in a moment. But Jenna had Representative Bob Good of Virginia on today.
Jenna Ellis.
Yes. This was on AFR Talk. Bob Good was one of the House Republicans who voted yesterday to oust Kevin McCarthy. And Jenna had Representative Good take a moment to describe the process going forward now that they have ousted McCarthy in terms of how they, House Republicans, are going to try to pick their next House Speaker. Clip 7.
We now have an opportunity to come together and select a David instead of a Saul, and to prayerfully select whom the Lord would raise up to be the best person to be the Speaker. We will be vetting candidates and meeting with candidates, and then have a candidate forum on Tuesday night. We'll actually have a competition and a contest for someone to earn the support of the majority of the conference, Republican conference, instead of it being a coronation of the next person in line, who's kind of played the system and who's the greatest reflection of the swamp system, the greatest swamp creature, if you will. This will be very different come Tuesday evening when we have that candidate forum.
Is it going to be push-ups or is it going to be a hot dog eating competition?
American Ninja style gauntlet,
Steve, that was brutal what he said, calling Kevin McCarthy Saul.
Right.
And folks, and now we're going to pick a David. Folks, for those of you who have forgotten your Old Testament, Saul was
Yeah, we're not talking about the apostle.
We're talking to you, Andy Stanley.
who have forgotten the Old Testament. Hey, that was a good line. But Saul, the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and he was rejected as king. I guess I see the point, but politics can be brutal. That was a pretty brutal.
I have in front of me the actual process from the Congressional Research Service. This is what is going to happen. No, we don't know who, but this is how it goes. In current practice, each House Party caucus selects prior to the floor vote a candidate whose name is placed in nomination. Typically, the election commences from a member of each party caucus placing the nomination of the party's candidate on the floor. Other names may also be placed on the floor. The election has, since 1839, has been a roll call vote. Votes are cast by voice. Members are not required to vote for one of the candidates nominated by each of the major parties. They may vote for any individual. Although U.S. Constitution does not require the Speaker to be a member of the House, all speakers so far have been. So
each party puts forth
each party puts forth someone, but they can vote for anyone. They don't have to vote for one of those two. It's not a binary choice.
All right. Well, my opinion is if you don't want public opinion to just tank, if you're a Republican, this needs to be done quickly. This doesn't need to be dragged out for a month. This needs to be, and I think that Matt Gaetz has said, I've heard some clips, I think it was Matt Gaetz who said this, that this next Tuesday, is that what we're looking at in terms of this?
We're going to have a contest.
Have a hot dog eating
Potato sack race down Pennsylvania Avenue.
That's pretty funny. So anything else on this story that you've got, Chris?
How much time do we have left, Brent? Okay, let's do this because it was an interesting exchange, and this kind of goes it shows the divide between members of the media and some of the House Republicans. For example, Tim Burkett here, one of the House Republicans that voted to ouster McCarthy yesterday, he and Brian Kilmeade had an interesting exchange today. Clip 6.
The point is that we're $33 trillion in debt. This speaker was woefully lacking in leadership skills. He always placed the blame somewhere else. America's going to be better off with new leadership. And
Right. And who is it?
Possibly it could be Steve Scalise. It could be Elise Stefanik. It could be Roger Williams out of Texas. It could be Mark Green out of Tennessee.
So
Our
they all supported Kevin McCarthy, including the most conservative guy I know, Jim Jordan. Why are you smarter than Jim Jordan and the 210 plus Republicans? Why are you smarter?
I represent my district, brother. And why are you smarter than me? You're
Right.
condemning me
Well,
because
I'm just
I
saying-
stand up on my own, and that's
I'm not
what I do.
condemning you. I'm questioning you. You don't like being
No, you're
questioned?
not. You're the line of questioning is very negative, and you know that, and I know
Right.
that.
Ouch.
There's no question which side Brian Kilmeade was on. A lot of folks upset with what happened, embarrassed at what happened. But, well, who's the congressman?
Tim
there?
Burkett of Tennessee.
He starts off with the $33 trillion in debt, and I got to tell you, that sticks in the craw of a lot of fiscal conservatives because nothing ever seems to be done. And Republicans have the House, and they want something done. Anyway, folks, Dr. Alex McFarland is right around the bend. He's waiting in the wings, and any other metaphors I can bring you.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
Perhaps you have heard it, perhaps not. But even if you have heard it, it's worth repeating. The legend of the three trees. It goes like this. Once there were 3 trees in the forest near Jerusalem. They were baby trees, and they were discussing what they wanted to be when they grew up. One tree said that his desire when he grew up was to be made into a baby's cradle. The second tree expressed its desire. When I grow up, I want to be made into a mighty sailing vessel and explore the high seas. And then the third tree added that it wanted to be just what it was. I want to remain a tree and stay on the top of this hill and point people to God and His beauty and love. Well, the years came and went, and before long the trees were all grown up. The tree which wanted to be a cradle for a baby was cut down and made into a feeding trough. The second tree was cut down and made into a small fishing boat, which was used on the Sea of Galilee. And the third tree was cut down and made into a cross for use in a crucifixion. None of the three trees got what they wanted, it seemed. The trees learned a lesson which many grown-up humans often learn, and that is that the dreams we dream as children often don't come true in adulthood. How many of us have gotten what we wanted since we've grown up? Many a small girl has dreamed dreams of a Prince Charming rescuing her and her marrying Prince Charming and living happily ever after. And many a small boy has dreamed of becoming an important person as an adult and winning the praise of his fellow man. But let me finish the legend of the three trees. The one which was made into a feeding trough was used as a cradle for the baby Jesus. And the one which was made into a small fishing boat was used by the man Jesus to preach from. And the one which wanted to stand on the top of a hill and point people to God was used to crucify Jesus on. So it seems that each of the three trees received its wish. The only thing is that their wishes weren't fulfilled as they thought they would be. And how true to life this is. The little girl who never had her Prince Charming rescue her did fall in love with a fine young man who loved her devotedly throughout life. And the little boy who dreamed of becoming important wasn't known around the world, but to his wife and children, he was one of the most important people in all the world. Perhaps God is kinder to us than we often realize. Perhaps our childhood dreams come true more often than we think they do. We may not be able to get everything we want exactly like we want it in life, but this I believe: if we will set our sight on some high and noble goal and continue to pursue it throughout our life, there's a good chance we will reach it. For as the poet William Cooper once wrote, God moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. So continue to pursue your high and noble dream. Who knows, it could come to you as it came to the three trees, by slipping in the back door.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. 1 Peter 1:3.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
And welcome back. Ed Vitagliano sitting in for Tim Wildman today. I am joined in studio by both Chris Woodward and Steve Jordahl. Dr. Alex McFarland will be joining us in just a couple of minutes. But first, Chris, let me get you to, we're going to run a commercial here.
Yes.
Okay, because you did mention a couple of stories that are online at American Family News. That's afn.net. Some of our listeners to AFR programming may not know what afn.net is. Why don't you tell them what's there, what the purpose of it is, and how folks can get linked up with that kind of news source.
Yes. We are blessed here to have a news division that operates in two ways. We are a radio and print news division here at American Family Radio. Our website is afn.net, and that stands for American Family News. What you hear at the top of every hour on AFR, and about 100 or so non-AFR stations now, is the radio side of things. Many of those stories wind up on our website, again, afn.net. But we also have a ton of content that doesn't always make it on the radio. We have AP headlines. We've got videos. There's usually a column there that's very interesting. We even have political cartoons. So it's all there on afn.net. Steve Jordahl has many stories there, as does Charlie Butts, Chad Groening, all the people you hear on the radio, myself included. We're all there on AFN.net, and I was paid for this commercial advertisement.
By AP, you mean Associated Press.
Yes.
That is a secular news source, but
We edited.
but it is edited.
Fred is the filter.
Yes, because
Filter free.
they do put a spin on their quote-unquote journalistic stories.
We do.
It is an excellent news service.
Thank you.
Because they do have. I wasn't talking about AFN just yet. That's excellent as well.
Thank you.
I'm just encouraging people about Associated Press. They have people all over the world
They do.
covering the news that is going on both here and abroad.
Mm-hmm.
We do get some good, excellent videos about stories. What's great about AFN is not only do we produce our own content, which it consists of a lot of interviews with newsmakers
Right.
and those who have insight on issues of politics or foreign policy or military happenings around the world. But we also have it from a Christian perspective.
Yes, and if you want to, at the top of AFN.net, if you look in the right side of the top corner there, you'll see a button that says subscribe. Click that, give us your name and email address, and once a day for free, you will get an email from us with about 5 or 6 links, stories that you need to know to keep you and yours informed.
And if they click one of those links, they will be taken to that particular story at AFN, but it's also very easy to go to the
Yes.
homepage of
Right.
AFN and see all the other stuff that's there.
Yes, and my favorite phrase to say is there is no paywall.
There is, yes.
So we do not
Nothing's-
charge you to read our stuff.
Nothing's more frustrating than to get a link to
To the people that
story.
do that, bless your heart.
Yes. That's and in Southern circles, that's usually an insult.
Bless your heart.
Bless your heart, Washington Post. All right, we want to welcome to the program Dr. Alex McFarland. Most listeners to American Family Radio know that name. He is co-host of Exploring the Word, heard weekdays at 3 p.m. Central Time on American Family Radio. But we also are blessed to have him on with us on today's issues as often as we can get Alex, because he's often traveling. Alex, welcome back, sir.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you for your patience. I just got through speaking to a couple of hundred high school students, and so it's a productive day already.
Well, where did that occur? Are you at home? Or are you on the road, or what?
I'm on the road in Dillon, South Carolina. I've got the privilege this week of speaking at First Baptist Church in Dillon, South Carolina. Dr. Jamie Arnett, wonderful pastor, and we're having a great week of preaching and revival. And anyway, I'm on the road in South Carolina, and let me just say, all over this region, we have AFR listeners, and I feel very privileged. People have driven we had some people Sunday that had driven like 5 hours to come to First Baptist Dillon to hear me speak, and so it's always a privilege. I mean, really, I'm very humbled. The AFR family, they are so faithful and so enthusiastic and very supportive as Bert Harper and I travel over the country. They come and hear us, and I just want to say it means the world to us.
They drove 5 hours? I'm going to say
I know,
that's,
it was a
that's
letdown, I'm
impressive.
sure.
No, I don't think so. That's very impressive for someone to take that much time out of their week to make that trip. Well, that's great news, Alex. I am sure those high school students were wowed. I'm wowed every time I hear Alex speak in an official capacity at a conference or something. He is just so good. Folks, if you ever find out that Dr. Alex McFarland is going to be anywhere near you, take a trip. It will certainly be worthwhile and spiritually profitable. All right, Steve.
Yes, sir.
You found this, and really it was about 9:30, just over an hour ago. You found this op-ed in the Washington Post, and we wanted to pitch this to Alex. Why don't you set this up?
All right, Alex has read this as well. So there was an op-ed in the Washington Post by an author named Kate Cohen. She is a columnist for the Washington Post, and it was adapted from her new book called We of Little Faith, Why I Stopped Pretending to Believe and Maybe You Should Too. Her book, her title, not mine. Anyway, what she says here, the title of the column is America Doesn't Need More God, It Needs More Atheists. And after she expounds on why she is proud to be an atheist, she says those are all personal rewards, but there are political rewards as well. She says, my children know how to distinguish fact from fiction, which is harder for children raised religious. My children, don't assume conventional wisdom is true, and they do expect arguments to be based on evidence, which means they have the skills to be engaged, informed, and savvy citizens. She says, peel back the layers of discrimination against LGBTQ people, you'll find religion. Peel back layers of control over women's bodies, from dress code to Roe v. Wade, you find religion. So basically what she's saying is religion makes, Christianity specifically, makes for bad citizens, and a better citizen would be an atheist. Alex, why would a Christian be how can a Christian be a good citizen, and why would they be better, or is she right?
Well, it's very unfortunate, an article like this, because for centuries, Christianity was seen as a public good. Even those who weren't necessarily Christians or didn't necessarily believe in God, people understood that the presence of religious conviction, and specifically Christianity, that was a public good. But we're living in a time, the first time in American history, that Christianity is seen as a net negative, and that's very unfortunate. Now, first of all, let me say Christians do make better citizens, and I'll tell you, somebody who wrote about that was the twice Pulitzer-nominated sociologist Rodney Stark, who talked about the benefit of, quote, the iron Protestant work ethic. But Christians make better citizens, for a lot of reasons, some of which Christians will relate to, but I think all of which anybody could understand. Christians make better citizens, for one thing, because we're filled with the Holy Spirit. And the Bible says the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, self-control. Against such there is no law. Meaning that the fruits in the life of a Christian, you don't have to pass laws against kindness, morals, gentleness, selflessness, generosity. What's operative, the outflow of the life of a Christian, you don't have to regulate that with laws. Now, the outflow of the life of people who aren't Christians, greed, selfishness, murder, lies, slander, violence, domestic abuse, you have to pass laws against that. So to Ms. Cohen, who's arguing of the benefits of an atheistic society, look, atheism and no moral restraint, what does that give you? Flash mobs, smash and grab, homelessness, fentanyl deaths, just basically the morass of anarchy that we find our country in. But let me say a couple of more things. Christians make better citizens because we live for something outside of ourselves. We're not just indulgent narcissists. We realize there's an objective moral code. We realize that we're accountable to God, and we realize there is truth to not only know but live for. Well, let me say one last thing, guys. From the early 20s to 1949, there was a Democrat, a Jewish House of Representatives member, Saul Bloom. Saul Bloom served 14 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, in 1937, he wrote a book called The Story of the U.S. Constitution, which the late Antonin Scalia called the classic in constitutional studies. And Representative Jewish, not a Christian, as far as we know, from New York State, Saul Bloom, he said, quote, that an atheist could never be president because the oath of office includes swearing an oath of allegiance to a higher power. So not only the president, but citizens themselves, he argued, should believe in God, because belief in God implies accountability to God, and then belief in an objective moral standard. So guys, you know, we in our churches, we in our homes, and thank the Lord for American Family Radio, we need to call our nation to God, not away from Him, because look, the 3, 4, 5 decades we've been drifting away from God, look where it's left us, in an America that we barely recognize, an America that is unsafe, and an America that is unraveling in real time. And may God grant that Ms. Cohen's article goes nowhere but into the trash can.